Jeremy heard a breathless sound outside the door. He opened it in a swift motion, his revolver pointing directly at his chef's face. "Jeez!" Jeremy gasped. "What the heck are you doing here?" "I came to serve dinner, sir," the chef stuttered, visibly shaken by the gun pointed at him, the tray trembling in his hands. "I'm sorry. I tripped on the carpet and fell." Jeremy now noticed the contents of the tray scattered on the floor. "Change that forsaken carpet and stop scaring the daylights out of me." He slammed the door shut, suddenly feeling weak. So all that deafening noise was in his head. He slumped onto the couch, shutting his eyes tightly. Across town, Jake wasn't particularly bothered by the police guards stationed at his gate. There were countless ways he could sneak out, and as for Bedua, she had never questioned or reproached him since moving in with him. She was the least of his worries. One of Jake's favorite pastimes with his friends was sitting in his car at a busy junction, watching girls pass by. If one caught their fancy, they would drive up and strike a conversation. That late afternoon, Timo sat beside him. Timo, a mellow Rastafarian with a level-headed demeanor, was deeply spiritual but had a knack for blending his beliefs with modern practicality. Spotting Karen and Mabel heading toward a nearby shop, Timo nudged Jake. The two girls, who had come to live with their father's brother after their parents' tragic road accident a year prior, were a new sight for Jake. As the girls exited the shop, Jake looked them over carefully. "The first one is mine. The second is just a kid." Timo sounded a word of caution. "Careful, Jake. They're Sam Zanu's nieces. Do you know that?" "Do I care?" Jake retorted. "You're aware Sam knows your dad very well," Timo reminded him. "Why would I care about that? I want what I want, and no one can stop me." Irritated, Jake drove off. When they reached Timo's junction, he stopped without a word, an indication for Timo to get out. Timo obliged, aware of Jake's foul moods whenever opposed. His ego was always on full display, unyielding to advice. Timo feared that Jake's reckless behavior would one day lead to irreversible damage. Timo often considered breaking away from the group to focus on his own life. Perhaps transferring to another school as an accounts clerk would be his escape. The four friends had bonded in senior high school, but Jake's antics increasingly tested the limits of their camaraderie. One afternoon, Ro and Soa were with Jake in his room, smoking, drinking, and cracking their usual dirty jokes. "Charlie, I'm broke," Jake suddenly blurted out. Soa looked surprised. "First time?" he chuckled. "I've been trying to get money from my dad under the pretext of buying admission forms for a course in advertising and marketing, but that tight-fisted guy won't give me the money. He insists on buying the forms himself. Can you believe that?" They all burst out laughing, still jesting about the issue, when Adelie barged into the room unannounced. "I'm 2 months pregnant," she declared without preamble. The room fell silent as they turned to Jake. "What have I done wrong?" Jake scoffed. "Did she say I was responsible? Not after 2 months of breaking up with me. Go find your baby daddy. I'm too young to father a child." "I'm going to see your father," Adelie shot back. Jake scrambled to his feet. "You dare not! You dare not! I'll skin you alive if you try me!" "Fasten your seatbelt, Jake! Fasten your seatbelt!" Adelie hissed and stormed out. The silence lingered. Finally, Soa spoke. "And now that Adelie's pregnant, how could you not need more money? Are you dumb? You just heard me deny that pregnancy," Jake snapped, slumping onto the bed. Ro cautiously spoke up. "She's had only you for the past 3 years. That pregnancy is definitely yours. Don't patronize me. I'm only 25 and won't be tied down with a kid." "You don't have to be," Soa advised. "Your parents are well-to-do. When the baby is weaned, your dad will likely take the child from her. You won't even need to pay child support. Your parents will care for Adelie during her pregnancy. That baby is their grandchild." Jake sat up, looking intently at Soa. "Wow, for the first time since I've known you, you've said something sensible." Ro and Soa stared at him, aghast. Soa, clearly insulted, stood up and left without a word. Jake turned to Ro. "Are you leaving too?" "No, I'm staying. But you need to step down from your high horse and treat your friends as equals." That comment was uncalled for. Unrepentant, Jake shrugged. "It was great advice, though. I'll act on it." Months passed. Jeremy, having monitored the police's activities, decided it was time to resume operations. One evening, he drove to his second house, a secluded property surrounded by trees. Behind the house was a tool shed camouflaging piles of cow dung. The caretaker greeted him. "Sir Jay is here." "Yes, I am. How's it going?" "Perfect. When should we move?" "It depends on how fast you pack." By midnight, a driver with 2 boys slipped out of the farmhouse. The roads were dark and slick from a recent rain shower. At a police checkpoint, figures in raincoats emerged, their guns glinting under the dim light. The truck slowed. "Stop!" barked an officer. 2 policemen climbed onto the truck, pulling back the covering to reveal baskets filled with salted fish and sacks of pepper. "Park on the curb," one of them commanded, gesturing to the side of the road. The rain intensified, and the officers took cover under their makeshift shelter. Seizing his chance, the driver bolted into the storm, rain lashing against his face as thunder roared. The boys melted into the shadows, vanishing like whispers in the dark. A kilometer away, soaked but determined, the driver flagged down a bus. Without a word, he climbed aboard and disappeared into the rain, leaving nothing but questions in his wake. By morning, a few baskets from the truck lay abandoned on the ground. The driver and his boys were gone. The police opened one of the baskets and found several packages wrapped in black tape. When they tore one open, it revealed herbs, believed to be Indian hemp. An alert was quickly sent out to all police posts with a description of the driver. But one name on the truck raised eyebrows: Richie McRichards. Behind his desk at the police headquarters, Sergeant Adika was dumbfounded. He had just received a call that his former boss's truck had been impounded for carrying illegal drugs. Was McRichards involved in this illegal business with his brother Jeremy? With his connections in the service, could McRichards be hiding behind his brother to traffic illicit goods? No one is above the law. He would invite McRichards to the station to answer for these charges. First, Adika called McRichards to invite him to the station. Then he sent 2 officers to drive to McRichards' farm to escort him. Jimo drove behind them, feeling apprehensive. Police didn't escort senior members unless something untoward was happening. It was there they learned the reason for the summons. McRichards was shocked. "Honestly, apart from animals, I operate truck rentals, and it could be anybody using them for those activities." On the way back, McRichards called Jimo's. "My brother's on his way here. May the good Lord give me wisdom to talk to him." The next day, Jeremy drove 6 hours to the farmhouse, arriving just before nightfall. McRichards came out to meet him. "Big Brother Richie." "Jeremy," McRichards responded casually. "What brings you here?" "Can't a brother visit a brother? I miss you. We've been the closest of siblings, and suddenly you cut me off. It hurt." "Oh!" McRichards raised his brows, changing the topic. "How's the family?" "Fine. Stella's always breathing divorce down my neck these days." "She's waited too long. Your kind of lifestyle doesn't suit her." "But she agreed to marry me." "She married you before you turned into what you are now." "What am I now?" "Not the best name in town. You and my son have decided to give a bad name to our family. It's more shameful for me as a police commissioner." "Are you going to invite me in, or what?" Jeremy interjected. "Help yourself in," McRickards said calmly. "They can talk all they want. Jeremy continued. "I'm a businessman making my own money. No one has a thing on me." "Oh, they have a whole fat dossier on you. You'll surely be a case study in police training schools in the near future. Do you know that if you're arrested, you'll spend 30 to 50 years in jail?" Jeremy shrugged. "No one will arrest me." "You'll be about 85 or more when you get out. You may even be stretchered straight to the morgue from prison." "That's a joke, right? You're painting a bizarre picture of the future that awaits me if I continue dealing in drugs. But I know you'll have my back when trouble strikes, more so because you have full control of police affairs, even in your retirement." "Is that why you used my trucks for your dirty deals?" "I left them with you because I was traveling and they weren't safe on my farm. You returned some, but your sinister mind told you to keep a few for this day. I could have been arrested today, but because they know what you're capable of, they let me go. What an embarrassment for me." "You've just been lucky. I wouldn't have prevented them if they came after you." "Your integrity, of course. Let me warn you, they're closing in on you. I won't be blamed for what happens to you. Not even our parents in the grave will blame me. If they widen the net to include you, they won't let me stand in the way. I also have opponents in the service. I just wish you'd make a conscientious effort to wind up this illegal and dangerous business. You've made enough money. Wind it up and channel the money into a genuine business. One last thing, do not ever use anything belonging to me for your business, or I'll arrest you myself." Jeremy was momentarily taken aback by the vehemence in his brother's voice. He rarely spoke this way, and when he did, Jeremy knew he meant every word. He went to pour himself a glass of water. "Is that all the liquid you have in this house? Just water? You couldn't even get a bottle of wine to welcome a brother you haven't seen in the past 3 years? You bear me too much grudge." "The only grudge I'll forever bear you is turning my son. How could you hate me so much that you'd wish to destroy something so dear to my heart? It hurts to see my only son lost and without purpose in life." Jeremy looked genuinely remorseful. "Will you ever forgive me? I've always told you, my couriers did that to him. He found a friend among them, and before I knew it, he was always high. You could have stopped it. You could have sent him to me in the UK. But you looked on, my dear brother. You looked on. He left my house to stay with them. I searched everywhere for him. He seemed to vanish into thin air. It was only when you came back that he came out of hiding. I just pray God touches him to change his lifestyle. Otherwise, one day I'll bury him." "God forbid!" Jeremy cried out. McRichard stood up. "The night is far spent. You'll have to stay." "Yes, I will. Share my room, and we'll continue our conversation. I've missed you too." They retired for the night, bidding Jimmo a good night. Months went by, and Adelaide, heavy with child, got up one early morning to do her laundry. She saw someone peeping through the gate. She knew who it was. For the past 5 months, Jake had made it a habit of peeping through their gate without knocking or coming in. That day, he called her name. "Who is there?" "It's Jake. Can I talk to you for a minute?" He ran out of luck as Nee, Adelaide's brother, came out of the house. "Who's by the gate?" "It's Jake." "That twerp. What does he want here? Tell him to go away." "I don't want to talk to him," Nee bellowed to Jake. "What do you want from my sister? Did you not deny her pregnancy? Go away." Nee opened the gate and pushed Jake out of the way. Jake wagged a finger at him to warn him. He hurried away to his car, driving off in fury. Nee shut the gate with a clang. One day, this uncouth brat will be in so much trouble, he wouldn't know where to hide. He hurried to console Adelaide, who was sobbing quietly. Jake and his friend had gone on their usual drug-peddling business one night in town. A rival gang approached them, and there was a heated confrontation. A few blows were exchanged when they heard gunshots, and they all dispersed hurriedly. There was a police patrol nearby that got a whiff of what was going on. Roe and Soa were able to jump into Jake's car and screeched away. Everyone ran helter-skelter, and Timo found himself alone. Fortunately, Chris, one of his brothers, lived in that neighborhood, so he ran between houses to get there. He knocked rapidly on the door. "Who's there?" Chris called out. "It's me, Timo." "Oh," he sounded glad his brother had come by and quickly went to open the door. Timo almost fell through the door. "What happened to you?" "We were chased by the police." "You and who?" "I don't see anyone else entering this room," said Chris. "They might still be out there. Just let me hide here till tomorrow." "You need to sit down. I'll give you water to drink." When Chris brought the water, he proceeded to reproach his brother. "I've been telling you to quit this kind of life. Bro, I don't need a lecture. I was nearly shot. You need this lecture now. You see, when you're in a gang, you think everything is heavenly. Getting high and chasing girls is in vogue for you. But one day you will find you are all alone, just like today." "Please, Chris, stop it!" "I don't see your friends behind you. You all ran in different directions. Your friends did not wait for you. Listen, as you grow older and begin your own family, you'll realize that you've wasted your productive years just fooling around. Death is inevitable, but in your gangster lifestyle, it can be brought about sooner. I won't ask you to stop. You're a grown man and know what's good for you." Having thought about quitting the group, Timo didn't hesitate to find excuses not to be with them often. His friends accepted his excuses that he was helping his aged grandmother at home. It was completely believable since his grandmother had become bedridden within the year and his sister had married and moved out. They made fun of him for taking up a woman's role, but they let him be. He got serious with his education and his girlfriend. Sam Zanu owned a restaurant in town, Sam's Place, with its neon lights blinking away each night. Jake, Roe, and Soa drove by and saw Karen go into the restaurant. They drove into the parking lot and followed her inside. The evening was bustling as usual, with loners having supper before heading home. Karen saw the young men enter and moved closer to her uncle. "Uncle Sam, those are the guys who have been pestering us," she informed him. "Jake and his cohorts? They are trouble, especially that Jake boy. The last time he was here, he broke a few items. His father paid for the damage. I've warned him to keep away. His father saves his skin all the time." "Who's his father?" Karen asked. "A retired police officer. He is now a wealthy farmer and a very respectable member of the community, but his son is his albatross." As they spoke, a waiter whispered into Sam's ear, and he moved away into an inner room. Karen found herself a seat to watch the scene in the restaurant. Jake seized the chance to go over. Jake spoke under his breath. "Can I sit with you?" "No," Karen responded curtly. "Why not? A pretty girl like you must have company." Karen snubbed him. "Just leave me alone." Jake got irritated. "What's with you zanu girls? Listen, I don't take BS from girls, okay? Who's forcing you to? Get out of my face." Karen spoke rudely. "Get out of your face?" Jake was beside himself with anger. He toppled a chair over. His friends moved swiftly to lead him away, but he wouldn't move anywhere until he had his say. He wagged a finger at Karen. "Me? Get out of your face? Be careful how you talk to me. Do you know who I am?" "Yes, I do. A good-for-nothing boy who isn't thinking of making something out of his life." "Wow. You know so much about me considering you just moved here these past few months. Your uncle spoke withdrawal about me to you, and you will taste how bad I am. Even if you could, you'll end up behind bars." Sam hurried over. "Enough," he addressed Jake. "How many times do I have to tell you not to come into my place? This place is not for hooligans. It's for decent people who want a decent place to relax." Jake spoke leeringly. Your place. You call this a place? Sam shook his head. Take your dim-witted friends and get out of here. Save your breath. We're leaving. Sam moved closer to him. Listen, I don't care if your dad is a friend or not. I will get a restraining order for you, one of these days. Jake laughed derisively. My dad's friend? You call yourself Richie's friend? My father's friend? He laughed some more. His friends led him away, and he kept wagging his finger at Sam. The evening settled beautifully over the Zanu residence, with the hum of evening chores blending seamlessly into the familiar cadence of life inside their home. Karen and Mabel were busy in the kitchen, the warmth of cooking and the scent of spices filling the air. Mabel, frowning slightly as she rummaged through the pantry, sighed. We don't have bread for breakfast, she noted, her voice laced with mild frustration. You know I hate going out late. Could we not ask Uncle Sam's boys to buy a loaf for us? Uncle Sam has traveled, and we just got to know them. We can't begin to let them run errands for us, said Karen. Okay then, I can ride over and get it. It's just down the road. No, Mabel, it's late. It's only 6 o'clock, I'll take the bike. Worse, a car might hit you. In this suburb, everyone is in a hurry somewhere. Let me finish this, and we'll go together. How many cars pass by every 10 minutes? I'll be careful. Karen heard the front door bang shut and knew her stubborn sister was on her way out. She shook her head in exasperation. Just at that moment, Jake's car came out of another lane toward town. He glanced at the girl riding a bike at this hour and thought nothing of it. As he got closer, he realized it was Mabel. Well, who goes there, all on her own? A Zanu babe. Just one of them will do. I will put the fear of Jake in them, just a teeny weensy bit of fear, and they'll drop their arrogance. He stopped and waited for her to come back. As she appeared, he drove slowly ahead of her. When she got up to the car, he opened the door. She slammed into it and fell over. He laughed cruelly and ran to her side in mock apologies. He lifted her up and pushed her into the car.